From its rugged coastline to its picturesque landscapes and northern lights, Norway is one of the most beautiful places on Earth. On this episode of Global Community, we explore all things Norway, and I'll answer the following questions and so much more. What's a fjord, and why does Norway have so many of them? If you were at the North Pole, what would be the nearest town? What are some things the Vikings of Norway found? And how can a country of less than 5 million be so dominant at winter sports? My name is Ryan, and on this episode I'll share where Norway is, its history, and government. We'll also explore the people, products, and ideas that come from there that have helped shape the lives of people around the world. What did you find interesting, and what did I miss? Please share your thoughts in the comments below.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some.
Norway is in Northern Europe, a part of Scandinavia with its neighbors Denmark and Sweden. Not Finland. It's believed that the name Norge, or in English Norway, comes from the Old English word Norveg, meaning northern way or way leading to the north. Norway is known for its breathtaking fjords, of which they have around 1,200, the most of any country in the world. Fjords are long, narrow, and deep inlets set between high cliffs known to reach far inland. Fjords were created by glaciers in the Earth's last ice age. When the glaciers retreated, they would carve a U-shaped valley and the sea filled the valley floor, sometimes as deep as 1,300 meters. They can serve as natural harbors and likely played a role in the Norsemen or Vikings becoming great seafarers. Northern Norway is a great place to view the Northern Lights. A place that often comes up as one of the best places to see them is the Norwegian city of Tromsø. A natural light display in the Earth's sky, the Northern Lights happen when solar wind gets past the magnetic field and travels towards the Earth, running into the atmosphere. As the protons and electrons from the solar wind hit the particles in the Earth's atmosphere, they release energy, causing the Northern Lights. If you still aren't sure what they are, either am I. Regardless, they are beautiful. If you were at the North Pole and needed to get to town, the closest one would be Longyearbyen in the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard, located between the northern coast of Norway and the North Pole. It's still about 1,300 kilometers away, so it isn't exactly a quick trip for Santa when he needs to get to the post office. Another interesting fact about Svalbard is that it is home to the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, the world's largest collection of crop diversity. It was built as long-term storage for seeds in the event that there is a global catastrophe that wipes out the world's plants. I'm not sure how anyone will actually get to Svalbard in the event of a global catastrophe, but I guess that's a problem for another day. The first aerosol spray can patent was granted in the Norwegian capital of Oslo in 1927 to Erik Rothheim, a Norwegian chemical engineer. Today, the technology is used for many products from disinfectant to paint. Norwegian Sondre Norheim was a pioneer in modern skiing. He made important innovations in skiing technology by designing new equipment such as the telemark ski, the prototype for modern skis. His popularity made Norwegian words like ski and slalom known worldwide. Norwegian innovation in sports does not end there. The Biathlon was developed as an exercise for Norwegian people as an alternative in training for the military, and combines cross-country skiing with rifle shooting. The first Biathlon World Championship was held in 1958, and it became a part of the Winter Olympics in 1960. Evidently fans of combining sports, Norway also was the birthplace of the Nordic Combine. It joins cross-country skiing with ski jumping. An early highlight of the sport was in the 1920s when King Olaf V of Norway competed in the Holmenkollen Ski Festival. Speaking of ski jumping, the Norwegians invented that too. The previously mentioned Sondre Norheim is regarded as the father of modern ski jumping and won the first ever ski jumping competition in 1866. Other Norwegian inventions include the cheese slicer, and while disputed, they may or may not have invented the paperclip. Be sure to confirm or deny in the comments. In terms of present-day contributions, Norway is the primary supplier of codfish to Portugal, which the Portuguese use for bacalhau, their national dish. They also introduced salmon sushi to Japan.
Making moves, trying to get away from this life I'm living.
The warrior culture of Norway began in the Nordic Bronze Age. The Norwegians likely began to gain wealth by exporting amber down the ancient Amber Road, which extended into the Roman Empire. They also had a notable sea culture which led to the Viking Age. Speaking of which, the Viking Age was the period during the Middle Ages when the Norsemen known as the Vikings took to large-scale raiding, colonizing, conquest, and trading throughout Europe, even reaching North America. The raid of Lindisfarne in 793 is considered the beginning of the Viking Age. The Vikings were able to travel and expand because of the development of the longships, suitable for travel across sea. Beyond ships and fighting techniques, the Vikings had a major psychological advantage over Christian enemies due to their religious philosophy. They believed that being killed in combat would result in them going to Valhalla, which was the Viking heaven. Now that just doesn't seem fair. If they kill you, they win. If you kill them, they still win. Voyaging by sea from their homelands in Scandinavia, the Vikings raided and settled in the British Isles, Ireland, the Faroe Islands, Iceland, Greenland, Normandy, the Baltic coast, and along the Dnieper and Volga trade routes in Eastern Europe. On top of that, they were the first Europeans to discover America. More on that in the people section of the video. The events of 1066 in England, in which William the Conqueror took control of England, effectively marked the end of the Viking Age. By that time, all the Scandinavian kingdoms converted to Christianity, and what remained of the Viking culture was being absorbed into the culture of Christian Europe. The Kalmar Union was an off and on again joining of the Scandinavian countries of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden from 1397 until 1523. The countries were joined under a single monarch together with Norway's overseas colonies. Legally, the countries remained separate sovereign states, however their domestic and foreign policies were directed by a common monarch. The Kalmar War in the early 17th century was fought between Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. It started because Denmark, Norway controlled the strait between the Baltic Sea and the North Sea, causing Sweden to seek an alternative trade route through sparsely populated and Norwegian-controlled Lapland to avoid paying Denmark's sound dues. This upset Denmark, Norway, and they invaded Sweden in April of 1611. In the end, both sides benefited from the short-lived war. Denmark, Norway regained the Norwegian area of Lapland and gained ransom for lands taken from Sweden. Sweden, on the other hand, got the right of free trade through the Sound Strait, becoming exempt from the Sound toll. Negotiations between the two governments led to Sweden's recognition of Norway as an independent constitutional monarchy on the 26th of October in 1905. On that date, King Oscar II renounced his claim to the Norwegian throne. Norway then approached Denmark with a proposal regarding the 33-year-old Prince Karl of Denmark, the second son of Crown Prince Frederick. Related on his father's side to medieval Norwegian kings, Prince Karl accepted the Norwegian throne and chose the name Håkon, a traditional name by Norwegian kings. It became known as Håkon VII. The royal line has proven successful, with his son Olaf V being voted Norwegian of the century after ascending the throne. Håkon's grandson Harald V is king of Norway to this day.
Like a light, lighting up in the dark.
The Norwegian people are descended from the famed Norse Vikings of the Middle Ages, and some of the most famous Vikings in history were from Norway. Eric the Red is remembered in medieval and Icelandic sagas as having founded the first continuous settlement in Greenland. As a child, Eric left Norway to live in western Iceland with his father, who had been convicted of manslaughter. A Viking that was too violent for the Vikings. Interesting. Eric grew up to be quite volatile himself, and after the killing of some of his people for causing a landslide, Eric retaliated and killed those responsible, which forced him to be exiled like his father had been years before. After a second banishment and 3 years for killing, seriously, what's up with this family? Eric the Red left Iceland altogether, settling in Greenland, giving it its name because he believed it was suitable for raising livestock and was hoping to attract more people to the new settlement. After his banishment expired, he went back to Iceland, and despite his reputation for killing people, convinced hundreds to move back to Greenland with him. Leif Erikson, the second son of Eric the Red, inherited his father's love for exploration, and though he was not banished for killing anyone, left his home and became the first European to set foot in present-day North America, 500 years before the voyages of Columbus. He named the newfound land Vinland. In the 1960s, the Viking settlement of Meadows was found in present-day Canada, confirming their presence in the Americas. The first expedition to reach the geographic South Pole was led by Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen. He and 4 others arrived at the pole on the 14th of December in 1911. Amundsen was also the first explorer to cross the Northwest Passage above Canada, something explorers had been searching for centuries, and the first to fly over the North Pole in an airship. The first Secretary of the United Nations was Norwegian Trygve Lie, who served from 1946 until 1952. The Kingdom of Norway has produced 13 Nobel laureates, the most recent being May-Britt and Edvard Moser, who won in the category of Physiology and Medicine in 2014 for their work in identifying the brain's positioning system. On another note, the Nobel Peace Prize is selected by the Norwegian Nobel Committee, a 5-member committee appointed by the Parliament of Norway. The Peace Prize is awarded every year in Norway. An interesting group of people who live in Norway are the Sami, living in the northern regions of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and the Kola Peninsula of Russia. Traditionally, the Sami have made a living in a variety of ways, including coastal fishing, fur trapping, and sheep herding, but they are best known for semi-nomadic reindeer herding. Currently, about 10% of the Sami are connected to reindeer herding, which provides them with meat, fur, and transportation. It is unknown if the Sami herded Rudolph, Dasher, or Dancer. The national dish of Norway is mutton and cabbage stew, also known as fårikål. It's made of pieces of mutton with bone, cabbage, whole black pepper, and occasionally a little wheat flour. It's cooked for several hours in a casserole and traditionally served with potatoes boiled in their skins. Norwegian lamb is considered some of the best in the world because the animals roam freely most of their lives and the meat gets really juicy and tender. One traditional Norse dish, which is internationally known, is smoked salmon. It is now a major export and considered one of, if not the most important Scandinavian contributions to modern international cuisine. Because of industrial whaling, whale meat was commonly used as a cheap substitute for beef in Norway during the 20th century. Consumption has declined over time, but it is still widely available in all parts of the country, and many Norwegians eat it occasionally. Unlike in many other countries, eating whale meat is not considered controversial in Norway. Lefse is a traditional Norwegian flatbread visually looking like a huge round tortilla. It comes in many varieties such as plain, sweet, thin, or thick. There is also a popular version of lefse with potatoes incorporated in the dough and is a favorite of the Telemark region. On a per capita basis, Norway is the second largest consumer of coffee in the world. The average Norwegian consumes almost 22 pounds of coffee every year. 80% of Norwegians drink coffee, many at a rate of 4 or 5 cups a day. I talk a lot faster if I drink that much. Norway's government is a constitutional monarchy. Their current king is Harald V, who lives in the royal palace in Oslo. The king is the head of state and the prime minister is the head of government. Currently, the Prime Minister of Norway is Erna Solberg, who has held the position since 2013. King or no king, Norway has been classified as the world's most democratic country since 2010, according to the Democracy Index. The EIU uses a bunch of criteria for their rankings, some of the most important being whether national elections are free and fair, the security of voters, the influence of foreign powers on government, and the capability of the civil servants to implement policies. I used to think that the United States of America was a pretty democratic and safe place to vote until last election, when I saw an old Trump supporter and an old Biden supporter fighting in the parking lot. Embarrassing. Economically and socially, Norway follows the Nordic model. It combines features of capitalism, such as a market economy and economic efficiency, with social benefits, such as state pensions and income distribution. The citizens that live in the countries that use the Nordic model get top quality services, including free education and free healthcare, as well as generous, guaranteed pension payments for retirees. Of course, someone has to pay for these benefits, and as a result, Nordic countries have some of the highest tax rates in the world. The amount you pay depends on how much you make, which helps with income equity. And whatever they're doing must be working because the Nordic countries are consistently voted as the most happy countries in the world. To top it off, Norway has the 4th highest per capita income in the world on the World Bank and IMF lists. The petroleum industry accounts for a quarter of the country's gross domestic product. On a per capita basis, Norway is the largest producer of oil and natural gas outside of the Middle East. Due to their living on the coast, Norway is also the second largest fish exporting country in the world, exporting nearly $9 billion worth of fish every year. While Norway exports tons of oil, over 95% of the energy within the country comes from hydropower. What's left comes from thermal and wind power. Norway was also the first country to generate electricity commercially using seabed tidal power. Norway has one of the highest standards of living in the world, in part by having a large amount of natural resources compared to the size of their population.
Yesterday, there was sun and there was rain.
There are almost as many people of Norwegian descent living in North America as there are living in Norway, with the United States home to over 4.5 million people with Norwegian heritage and Canada home to 450,000. While there was a Norwegian presence in the area of present-day New York as early as the early 1600s, the earliest wave of Norwegian immigration began in 1825 and was caused by religious persecution, especially for Quakers. Over the next 100 years, as many as 800,000 Norwegians immigrated to North America, with many many settling in the upper Midwest states of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and North Dakota, and the Canadian provinces of Alberta and British Columbia. As mentioned in an earlier video, Minnesota's football team is named the Vikings in honor of its strong Scandinavian roots. In addition to religious freedom, agricultural disasters which led to poverty, including the European potato failure of the 1840s and the famine of 1866 to 68, were the main reasons for Norwegian immigration. Notable North Americans with Norwegian descent include Canadian actor Nathan Fillion, whose current TV show The Rookie is one of my personal favorites, Canadian singer Joni Mitchell, a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and widely considered as one of the greatest songwriters ever, was born to a father of Norwegian descent and possibly was part Sami. Legendary actress Marilyn Monroe, who was seen as one of the most beautiful women of her generation, was also of Norwegian descent. Other notable North Americans with Norwegian descent include renowned travel writer Rick Steves, comedic actors Rainn Wilson, Dwight, and Dana Carvey, Garth, Deadliest Catch skipper Sig Hansen, former American Vice Presidents Hubert Humphrey and Walter Mondale, and the Hilton family, most known for their hotels that can be found in 94 countries worldwide. Most millennials know the Hilton family better because of the notable actress and socialite Paris Hilton, great-granddaughter of Conrad Hilton, founder of the family company. Norway is a global giant in winter sports and has even hosted the Winter Olympics twice. The first being in 1952 in the capital city of Oslo, and most recently the 1994 Lillehammer Winter Olympic Games. In America, we remember the 94 Olympics as the one ice skater Nancy Kerrigan was attacked by her rival Tanya Harding's henchmen. Despite all of that between the two skaters, the competition was won by Oksana Baiul, marking the first time the Ukrainian national anthem was played at the Olympics. Other highlights included Johan Olaf Koss winning 3 speed skating golds for Norway, while 13-year-old Kim Yeon-mi from South Korea became the youngest ever Olympic gold medalist. Russia won the most events with 11 gold medals, while Norway collected the highest number of medals overall, winning 26. The games were also noteworthy for their environmental conservation. Considering where they were held, it totally makes sense. Many worldwide have often wondered how Norway, a country with only 5 million people, give or take, do so well in so many sports. I believe the mystery was solved by the television show Real Sports, hosted by Bryant Gumbel, in a segment called The Norwegian Way. In it, they take a look at Norwegian youth sports and discover that their focus is on the kids having fun instead of competing, with the score rarely being kept. While many other countries stress winning and identifying the best young talent, the Norwegians have learned that some of the most talented youngsters eventually peak, and many of the best players as adults don't show their true ability until they're much older. By focusing on the fun of sport, more kids stay involved for much longer. Serious training for professional sports and a focus on winning often doesn't begin until the athletes are 15 or 16 years old. Or in other words, they look at what the Americans do and do the exact opposite.
You say, take me on a treasure hunt.
Queen Elsa in Princess Anna's Frozen Arendelle is based on the Norwegian town of Arendal, located in the county of Agder to the southwest of the Norwegian capital Oslo. The team behind Frozen even visited Norway to gain inspiration, and you can see Nordic influence all throughout the movie. Lardal Tunnel is the longest tunnel in the world at 24.5 kilometers long. It represents the final link of the main highway connecting the cities of Oslo and Bergen without ferry connections and difficult mountain crossings during winter. Construction started in 1995 and the tunnel opened in 2000, costing over 1 billion Norwegian krone, which is roughly 113 million in US dollars. The design of the tunnel takes into consideration the mental strain on drivers, so the tunnel is divided into 4 sections, separated by 3 large mountain caves at 6-kilometer intervals. And finally, Norway is home to the largest wild reindeer herd in Europe. The herd roam Hardangervidda, Europe's biggest mountain plateau. The national park includes vast plateaus, lush valleys, high mountains, distant glaciers, waterfalls, and stunning fjords. Each country has so much to explore that I could probably make an entire playlist for each. What did you find interesting about Norway, and what did I miss? As we explore the world, be sure to let me know where you would like us to go next. Until next time, thank you for taking time out of your day to be a part of the global community.
Stop my